time management is important, and I think we can all relate to that statement. So, as a result, I was doing some research, just reading casually, and I stumbled upon this particular article, right? And I kind of want to just talk about it. Let's go through it together because it's really fun. All right. This article is called "The 15 Secrets Successful People Know About Time Management." So, it's funny because the headline itself is super clickbaity. Why? Because it says secrets. But I'm pretty sure while I was going through this article briefly, they're not really secrets. They're just things that we know of, but we don't really practice. But regardless, let's move forward. Let's take a look at this article. Okay, so the first three tips are focused on time management and specific tasks. Now, secret number one is time is valuable. The first secret is time is your most valuable and scarcest resource. And as a CEO irked by constant interruptions, author Kevin Cruz posted a large sign with the number 1440. Now, viewing this day as 1440 minutes of potential success helped him focus on essential tasks. His employees began emulating this mindset, thus increasing productivity. Now, Cruz's interviews and surveys with top achievers confirmed that they share this point of view. They recognize time as their most valuable asset. And I love this first rule because, as you get older, I think you realize how much time is wasted on certain things you do, right? Certain bad habits, even certain relationships you have. And I think that's the beauty of kind of getting older and wiser. You just value your time a lot more. For me in particular, I've learned the value and beauty of time and the importance of time pretty early on. And for me, my greatest lessons of this particular secret that time is valuable is when I lost my father, right? I lost him when I was 26, which, based off your perspective, that could be young or old. I'm not sure. To me, it felt too early to have him, especially when I imagined him being there for me to help raise my grandchildren in the future, help, walking through those processes. It felt too early on. And, for me personally, when I have a loved one pass away or when I lose one of them, it always reminds me of how important every minute and every day really is. And it really helps me value and appreciate my time that much more. And I really love this first step because the reality is we really don't know how much time we have on this earth. We really don't know. And it's not just about our own lives, it's about how much time we have spending with our loved ones. And again, after my father passed away, was really a huge turning point in my life because it really made me reevaluate how I spend time with my loved ones. Because prior to my father passing away, I was a workaholic. I'd work. I don't even want to do the hours, but at 12, 15 hour days, 7 days a week, I was nonstop. I kid you, I was nonstop. I wouldn't even count the days. It was the moment I woke up, I would just get ready, go to the office, and just grind and grind and grind and grind because I felt young. I felt like that was the time where I really needed to invest in myself, right? In my own accomplishments so I could, earn a lot of money, take care of my family, buy them a nice house, just, take care of them. But in my pursuit of success, what I didn't realize was while I was getting older, so were my parents. And my, my father, he passed away at, I think, a relatively early age. He passed away at 61. Um, and it was heartbreaking. And it really put time in perspective. And now I live my life, really conscious of time, right? And I really don't beat myself up if I want to take time to just relax or take time away from all the troubles and take time just to spend with my family and just have a simple conversation with my grandfather, go visit him. Like time, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. it's left up to us to decide how we want to spend that time. So I love this first rule or first secret, which is time is valuable. All right, moving forward. Second secret is prioritize important tasks. Now, the second secret is identify your most important task and do it first. Successful people focus on their top priority, long term goals, and identify meaningful, specific short term goals they must accomplish first. Breaking short term goals down into measurable steps guides high achievers to their most vital tasks. Now, I totally agree with this. I mean, there are a lot of examples that I can offer, but the first thing that comes to mind is, I guess, when I published my first book, my first solo book, right? My first book that I wrote entirely by myself, right? I've co authored a bunch of textbooks and things along those lines prior to my first publication. But one thing that helped me, create and publish a full length book was taking it step by step, right? And I'm not just talking about like, oh, writing. No, like literally the first step was honestly, at first I was like, what should I even write about? And yeah, like it took, I don't even know how long, but I'm a couple weeks, maybe even a couple months. I don't really know the exact time frame, but I remember it initially started with an idea. And the idea was I want to publish a book. And then second idea was, okay, what do I want to write about? And it's there, so I started thinking, I was like, what do I feel qualified to write about? And then which then led me to the notion of writing a book about public speaking, because I've been doing that for what, since I was 14. I'm 29 now. So yeah, I wrote about that. And I was like, okay. And then I thought about organizing it, right? Brainstorming my ideas. And it started just with like chicken scratch. It was god awful. That first rough draft was I thought it was disgusting. It was one of my worst pieces of work in a long time. But it was intoxicating knowing that it was bad, but I wanted to make it better. I loved the feeling of improving my own work and improving the quality, because I mean, I think for the most part, well, we all know when something's bad, right? For the most part. However, I mean, it's hard. Yeah, we know when something's bad. So it's just, for me, it's intoxicating to want to just improve the quality of work. So when prioritizing important tasks in regards to me writing my first book, I knew the important task first was, get the idea, and then stick with the idea, and then brainstorming, and then organizing, and then writing, and then rewriting, and then rewriting, and then getting an editor, and then getting a cover designer, and then having design idea and publishing it. It was so many steps, but I knew what was most important. I can't just have a beautifully designed book, right? A beautifully designed book cover without awesome content, without content that I believe is worth sharing. So I had to prioritize the writing first, right? And trust me, there were days I did not want to write. There were several days I did not want to write, but I just went through the motions. I had a schedule. I'd be like, I would teach from morning till afternoon. Afternoon, I take a little baby nap, because for me, naps help me like re-energize my brain. So I would take a baby nap, and then I would write from during the night, right? And slowly but surely, it eventually came together. And after that first book, I wanted to publish another one, and I'm probably gonna publish a couple more in the future, because I'm familiar with the routine now, and I know what it takes to get one done. But I love it. But again, it goes back to prioritizing your important tasks. So this applies differently to everyone else, right? I don't know what your important task is, but that's something you need to figure out. Have steps, have achievable steps, have a plan of action. It's not just, oh, I want to publish a book. How do I go about it? No, it's a lot easier to accomplish tasks when you have steps, right? Step one, idea. Step two, create an outline. Step three, write each chapter or each section. Then step four, step five, step six. So love that rule. Very important. Prioritize important tasks, right? And obviously they vary depending on your lifestyle and your own individual choices. Now, number three, rely on scheduled calendars, not to do lists. Now, the third secret is work from your calendar, not a to do list. Crossing out one problem from a to do list only creates more. Research indicates that most list makers never complete 41% of their planned jobs. Daily lists tend to randomize the order among your tasks, thus muddling your focus. Most successful CEOs rely on strictly scheduled calendars, which allow for time for focusing on the important tasks. Power play Power players make their calendars work hard by reserving time for concentration, for one-on-one communication, and for team input. They also allow time for relaxation. Totally agree. However, I will say I am still guilty of using to-do lists, right? And I'm sure I'm not alone. There's something about a to-do list, of creating a to-do list and crossing out items that is so satisfying, you know? Even though it's not the most ideal way to kind of like plan our schedule, it's still satisfying. But I totally agree with the whole scheduled calendars, like focused on completing tasks based off like a weekly or daily goal and things along those lines. It's more big picture ideas. Because when it comes to-do lists, I find myself putting even some of the most remedial, like the tiniest tasks on there, just so I can get it done, which is necessary. I need to get it done. But I definitely rely on time. For example, when I published my second book, I was pressed for time because I was inspired to write my second book because of one of my students that I was teaching in my class. I was helping one of my students draft this presentation, this speech to compete, right? A competitive speech. And I only had, I don't remember, like 2 months. I think 2 months to get it done because my goal was I was inspired from her and I wanted to write a book so I can give her the book, right? As like a gift, is like, thank you for being my muse for this particular book and product. So realistically, I was like, okay, I couldn't make the book as perfect as I wanted to because my goal was I have 2 months to go from an idea to completion. How do I get it done in 2 months? Right? That was the main goal. I focused on time. I focused on blocking off my calendar rather than focusing on the little details, right? There were still actionable steps, right? Which is like brainstorm, have an outline, things along those lines. But I focused more on the time frame, right? I have 2 months to go from point A to point B. How do I get it done in 2 months? And that's how I actually complete a lot of my quote unquote bigger tasks, like constructing a course or publishing a book. I focus on, okay, how much time do I actually have? And I'm not talking about like in a day. I mean, when do I need to start this project? When does this project need to be finished by? If it's a month, okay, how in the world will I get it done in a month, right? I have to ask myself those questions. So definitely I agree with this relying on scheduled calendars, right? Focus on time frames as a deadline rather than to-do list. However, I am still guilty of having to-do lists. Don't get me wrong, I'm still guilty, but definitely having a time frame, a scheduled time frame is very, very valuable, at least in my opinion as well. Number four. Now, the fourth secret is to overcome procrastination. Beat your future self. Most people say procrastination is why they choose easier tasks first or believe they will perform better later. Now, instead of delaying, try some procrastination busters. For example, do now what you promise you'll do later. If you say you'll exercise or do some job in 5 minutes, just do it now. Or try imagining your result. Whether finishing a task will give you pleasure or failing to get it done will cause you pain, imagine the outcome of your actions. Another procrastination buster is to behave like the person you hope to become. Anchor your values and make a firmer commitment to the behaviors you want to emulate. Yes, totally agree. But this is one of those quote unquote secrets I think that we all know that we should do, but we don't apply, right? So I'll speak on behalf of my older self that used to procrastinate and still do great quality work last minute, which I'm sure a lot of y'all can agree on. But the beauty of just getting excuse me the language, but getting shit done early is so rewarding and so intoxicating because there's nothing better, at least for me, than getting tasks done earlier so I can have the mental freedom to work on other projects. Because I'm one of those people, like, I just think. I like thinking and I always have ideas. Sometimes they're silly, but sometimes they're like, oh my god, this is so revolutionary. I need to move forward with this. Like, this is something that would make me super happy, right? For example, like publishing a book, starting a podcast, whatever. Like, if I want to start a new project, the only way I'm able to start a new project is if I get all of my shit done earlier on. And I'm sure that non procrastinators can agree with me, right? There's nothing worse than procrastinating. There's nothing worse to me. There's nothing worse than that feeling of like, oh my god, I have to get this done. Like, I only have a few minutes or a few days to get this done, and I hate the feeling of like getting things done right before the deadline, right? Because as a result, it doesn't give me a lot of preparation time, right? For example, if I'm doing a presentation or I'm lecturing a class, I've never walked into class unprepared. I've always had my lessons. I always had more than enough examples. I've always had more than enough activities just in case something goes wrong. And that feeling of being prepared is, it just makes you feel so confident. And I think that's one thing that we're all longing for. It's the confidence to do well at whatever we choose to do, right? To do well at our job, to do well in our relationship, or do be a great husband, wife, sibling, whatever it may be. It's just overcoming procrastination and doing tasks now. Because one thing that helps me out, and it might help you on, I'm not sure, is I put tasks in perspective, right? I kind of rationalize my tasks. So, for example, one thing that a lot of people dislike is answering emails, right? Myself included. I am not a fan of answering emails. It gets exhausting, especially as a professor. I get a lot of the same questions, and a lot of questions that are easily answered or that have already been answered because they're on the syllabus or they're in one of my announcements. However, to move forward with my day, I think about this. Okay, answer the email. It does not take that long. It's a simple, hello, student. Thank you for reaching out. Here's the answer to your question, blah, blah, blah. It takes maybe a sentence or two, right? And in reality, if I rationalize it, it might take me 30 seconds to respond to that email. And it only takes 30 seconds to respond to the email. But if I don't respond to the email, it'll probably, that lingering thought of that email will last for the entire day. And I tell myself, it's like, Brian, you don't want to just sit on that email like in your brain. You don't want that thought to just slowly like demoralize you. Just get it done now and be over with it. So I kind of have a conversation with myself, I guess you can say. I rationalize the idea of like procrastinating is, come on, dude, just get it done, or else it's, if you don't get it done, you're gonna feel disgusting throughout the day, I guess, for lack of better words. So get it done, right? And again, this is easier said than done. But one thing that helps me is I put the task in perspective. I tell myself, okay, realistically, if I do this task, how long will it take? And usually the answer is not that long. Answering emails, 30 seconds, maybe, right? Sometimes 2 minutes if it needs a detailed explanation occasionally. But if once I get it done now, I can move forward. I can work on other projects I want to, and that is rewarding. And I remind myself of that rewarding feeling, which then motivates me to move forward and complete these little tasks that I can easily get done in a short amount of time. All right, now let's move forward. Number number 5. Know when to stop working. The fifth secret is there will always be more to do. Successful people accept their limitations. They choose their daily priorities and leave the rest for another day. Overcoming the onus of constant responsibility will help you lead a normal life and care for yourself and your family without guilt. Totally agree. Which is why I kind of rewrote the how is rewrote the tip, which is know when to stop working. So I I'll speak for myself. So I've experienced like extreme burnout before. it's it I it's hard to explain, but for me, when I was extremely burned out, I felt numb. And it feels weird because like when you're numb, you don't feel anything. I felt like I was just a zombie going through the motions, and it wasn't just something that lasted for a day. It lasted for years. Because for years I would just like pound in more work, because it's been instilled in me since like a kid, and just by media. It's like hard work gets helps you become successful. It's all about the hours you put in. It's always about the hours, which is true to a certain degree. But one thing that isn't publicized often is knowing when to stop. Like, your body can only take so much, your mind can only take so much. And grad school definitely took a toll on me, because for 2 year for years I was just exhausted. I was just so exhausted. And a lot of the pressure, was put on myself. All right, I was doing well. Don't get me wrong. I like taking a step. I was doing actually great, but in my mind, I was telling myself, it's like it's not good enough. It's not good enough. There's always something to work on, which is true. There is always something to improve on. It's true, but you can't go crazy over that thought, right? And that's one thing I've been practicing a little bit more for the past couple of years, is kind of just like submitting or work that isn't honestly up to my quote unquote standard or what I think is perfect. For example, podcasts and YouTube videos. I mean, if I was talking about if I was like 2 years younger, I would make sure I went extra hard on the audio. I would buy a mic. I would do all that fancy stuff. I would have a cool little setup, and I would edit my videos and stuff like that. Like I would if that was the old me, but now, but that would make me go a little crazy. I'm not gonna lie, because this isn't my full time job. Like these podcasts and stuff like that. It's something I want to do, and I actually thoroughly enjoy doing, and I hope that it's helpful for y'all. But I don't, I don't I'm not hard on myself because these videos and audios aren't perfect. I just do it because it's fun. I'm literally filming from my phone, and my phone is an iPhone 7 Plus, so it's an older phone. Hence the reason why the audio might not be ideal, because I'm literally just recording off my phone. Okay, so I don't beat myself up over it, and I don't think you should either, because yes, there's always something that can be improved on, but you need to learn when to just stop, when to take a break, when to escape. And that's one thing I've loved about getting older, right? The more I've worked and the more hours I put in doing working on projects, I know when my body just needs to relax. And when it needs to relax, oh my God, you best believe I relax. And that's just my personality. Because I love relaxing, I love lounging around. Don't get me wrong. Like if you hang out with me, we can literally be at a bar for hours. I'm one of those people. We can be at a bar for hours, or just go eat for hours and just chat about nothing. I'm one of those people, and I love it. But I only do that because I know the importance of needing to take a break. We all need a break. We all need one. So know yourself, learn about yourself, know when to stop, when to take a break. Because one thing I've also learned too is that if I continue working without a break, the quality of my work just isn't that great, because I'm just forcing it, right? If I'm just working just to work, the quality's in there because my brain is almost like fried, and I can't focus on the quality of, yeah, I just can't focus on the quality of my work. So I really love this step. I kind of rewrote it a little bit, which is just know when to stop working, right? And this is something I think you learn more once you get older, and go older with age. You get wiser, because when you get older, you just get tired. Because for me, I get tired now. I'm old. I love relaxing. I love just sipping on my coffee, chilling, watching a video, listening to music, dancing. I love that stuff. Okay. All right, moving forward. Okay, number 6, always carry a notebook. Now, the sixth secret is always carry a notebook. Some of the world's most famous billionaires, including Sir Richard Branson, attribute their success to keeping a notebook handy. Jotting down stray thoughts, meeting notes, and great ideas creates impressions. Research shows the brain uses several intertwined functions to process handwritten information. This results in more active, accurate recall than typing. transfer your notes to a computer for permanent future reference. 100% agree. And yes, research does back this up, right? So simply put, research you're more likely to remember certain things if you handwrite it down rather than typing. And I've done a couple of little activities on this particular lesson. So this I always have something to write on, right? It might not be a notebook because sometimes I'm like, oh, I forgot my notebook. I usually leave it in my bag, but sometimes I don't know, I move it around. But have something to write on. There's nothing better than an old school pen and paper. And one thing that I love notebooks is that I just write down ideas. And a lot of times, if you look at my notebook, it's very messy, it's unorganized, and that's kind of my personality. I'm just like 100 miles per hour at times. That's why some of my best friends are very organized and structured people. So they're very good at balancing me out. They're very good at like telling me to, Brian, relax, slow down. Let's focus on the organization aspect first. Let's make it look good. But I love a notebook or something to write on because I'm one of those people who just think, think, and who has ideas. And what I do that's helped me out a lot when I've gotten older is I just write shit down. I just write anything and everything I have down just to empty my mind. It's kind of like an idea dump, right? I dump my ideas on paper so I don't have to remember it because I always have ideas, and I'm worried about forgetting an idea. So I just dump it on a piece of paper, and the reality is most of my ideas I don't ever execute on them because they're just fun ideas. So I'm not, and at the end of the day, I just, yeah, they're not that important. They're not a priority, but they're still ideas. And I just need to find a way to dump it. It's kind of like having a diary, right? And I used to have like a work diary. Yeah, I would go through my day. I would reflect on my day. I would have a couple things that I would tackle, like reflect on my day, think about something I want to learn or learn something new, and it was super super helpful. So I love this idea of carrying a notebook, pen, paper, get your ideas down. And again, it's not just for keeping track of notes, right? Of like work meetings and things along those lines. I use my notebook just as a idea dump because I just need to empty my brain sometimes, right? Because it's just filled with ideas. So I love that particular tip. Now, next tip is empty your email box. Now, the seventh secret is control your inbox. A survey by McKinsey Global Institute indicates that office workers spend up to a third of their days reading and replying to emails. Use the 3210 system to keep email in its place. 3 times a day, spend 21 minutes reviewing your messages. Your goal is an inbox with no new email. This arbitrary time limit will focus you to reply with clear, succinct answers. For each email, decide if you should work on it immediately. Enter it on your calendar for a later action, delegate it, or file it. So I love this tip because for me, I get a lot of emails because I'm a professor, right? I think I have 5 emails in total. I know it's a lot. So I'm constantly receiving emails, and I got into the habit of constantly looking at my email inboxes for all of my emails. It was a lot because I felt like I had to be timely, right? Especially now in the age that we're living in, we're so pressured to respond immediately. And one thing I've learned, or the way that I do it, is like, no, man. Like, I'm not going to be at the beck and call of someone else's email. I am going to check my email certain times a day, right? In the morning, and then a little bit in the afternoon, and then evening, right? So I actually do kind of follow this principle without, I guess, even noticing it. But here's a great tip. That I use that really helped me out in regards to controlling my email inbox, but also really just maintaining my sanity. So one thing I did was I turned off notifications on all of my apps that weren't important and or that weren't pressing matters, and that included my email app. Again, as I noted, I have 5 different email accounts that I have on my email app. So as a result, I have a lot of emails coming in. However, I realized that constantly just checking my emails, especially with these notifications, was making me go a little crazy. I'm not simply put. So as a result, I turn off the notifications. So which then left me with that mental clarity, and I told myself, okay, I'm gonna check it in the mornings. Like I made a rule for myself, right? And I even told my students, like, okay, I'm not gonna go crazy, right? And in order for me to be able to teach you all well and thoroughly answer your questions, I can't be crazy. So I'm saying that as a joke. I don't mean to offend anyone, and I'm sorry if I did offend anyone. But yes, I check it a couple times a day, 3 times a day, usually mornings. I actually don't even check it when I wake up because I don't want to wake up to emails. I'm not one of those people. I love waking up, getting ready, right? I go shower, drink my coffee, settle in, right? Change, right? I even do that during the pandemic as well. I love that routine. It helps me feel like I'm still working even from home. And then I check my emails, right? I do my morning routine and then I check my emails, and I'll check it a little after in the afternoon, and then I'll check it in the evening. But turning off notifications was super helpful, and I would suggest you doing the same as well, right? And not just for your email app. I guess there are pressing matters, but remember, if it's a really pressing matter and it's from someone important, they're likely to text you, right? If it's your boss who really needs something done in the next 20 minutes, I mean, I'm assuming your boss should have your phone number, so they'll probably text you, right? And as a text, obviously, that means it shows you that it's very pressing. Then you'll respond to your text. But for email, again, don't be overwhelmed by them and answer them. Answer your emails. There's nothing better than just an empty email box. I love it. I love it. I hate having emails in my email box that have not been responded because it's all it makes me a little anxious at times. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. All right, moving forward. Number 8, meetings are a last resort. Now, the eighth secret about time management is schedule and attend meetings as a last resort. Don't set up or go to meetings unless the alternative forms of communication are not sufficient. Many entrepreneurs use a daily huddle as a more efficient and unifying way to get their team moving. I 100% agree that meetings are a last resort, especially because here's the thing. As a communication professor, there, there's a thing that's just saying too much, right? Communication overload. And for me, and I'm pretty sure I speak for a lot of y'all who are listeners, there are just so many meetings that are unnecessary, right? If if you can go over important information that you would in a meeting, but do it through email, why not just do it through email? There's no need to sit through 20-30 minutes of information that can easily be sent through a handout and PDF that which we'll read eventually, right? And I get it. Some organizations will focus on, oh, like I want to bring camaraderie and things along those lines. But eventually, it gets to the point where you're gonna make people questions like, why are we even having this? It's kind of like, for example, as a professor, especially now during online teaching, I don't hold classes, right? I don't hold classes because it's like a lot of the material and content I've already done the work. All they have to do is read it, watch the videos. I've given them instructions on how to actually learn, right? They learn by applying. You take the information, which I've done excessive. I spent a lot of time on creating Crafton. Look at the material, read it, apply it. If you have any questions during the application process, then of course contact me and I'll walk you through it. But me hosting a live class session is not effective. And for anyone who says, "Oh, like how can you learn or how can you be your teacher if you don't teach every day or through Zoom?" That doesn't mean it's an effective way of teaching, right? Because the reality of it is, let's say as a professor, I do hold class, or let's say you're a professor, you hold class every day, but not everyone attends. But on top of that, as you know, most college students, if they're asked to attend Zoom sessions twice or 3 times a week, you know that these students most likely aren't really there. And even if they are there, they probably can't retain that much information from these 2 to 3 hour class sessions because one, they could be tired, two, they could be dealing with personal matters, so it's not necessary, right? And the same thing can be applied to you. Meetings, and think about how to effectively communicate. What do you want to say, and think about the channel or how you want to say it. For example, let's say this is simple. I hopefully I'm not rambling, and hopefully you're finding it enjoyable. So let's say you want to break up with your significant other. So obviously, what's the best way, right? What's the most honorable way? Obviously, saying it in person. Is that what everyone does? No, of course not. Has the trend changed over the years? Has the younger generation just have they accepted the fact that breaking up with someone via text is normal? Probably. I don't know. I'm not sure. But if that's the case, then send the text or meet them in person. But you definitely won't email them, right? Most likely you won't email them a breakup. That's kind of strange. It's like, why are you emailing me a breakup? Why don't you just text me or meet me in person, right? There are different ways to communicate, and that's one thing a lot of people forget. They're all different channels, right? Texting is different than email. Like text messaging is different than email. Emailing is different than Instagram direct messaging. Instagram direct messaging is different than LinkedIn messaging. They're all different channels. They're all different mediums. It's up for you to decide what's the best medium. Now, what is your goal? Is your goal to teach a course? Okay. Does Zoom live sessions effectively teach the course? Maybe. Okay. Does creating YouTube videos effectively teach the course? Maybe. Does having the students read the text and then apply the information help them? Maybe, right? It's all about figuring out what's the best way to communicate your ideas. And that's why communication is so effective or is so important. And that's why a lot of people aren't effective in it. Because, again, let's say you want to send something important via text, right? Let's say you want to, yeah. A simple example is sometimes you don't want to send a whole essay on text messaging, right? Because when we text message, most of us just send like 1 to 2, 3 sentence texts. There are cases where you send like an extended paragraph. Sure, that's fine, but also it depends on the person. There's so many different variables. Man, I can go on a whole nother hour about this particular topic, and I don't want to bore y'all. I don't know if I am, but I'm just gonna go on the assumption that I am boring you. But simply put, yes, meetings are our last resort. But my tip as a professor of communication studies is figure out the best way to get your message across. Is that texting? Is that emailing? Is that live video Zoom session? Is that text messaging? Is that Instagram direct messaging? There's so many different ways to communicate. Figure out what you're sending and what's the best way to send that message, right? I leave it up to you. All right, next tip, which is practice saying no. Now, the ninth secret is to say no to everything that doesn't support your immediate goals. Business magnate Warren Buffett advises that very successful people say no to almost everything. They realize that each commitment of their time may result in the loss of other opportunities. Yes, I totally agree. So, and I'm assuming most of us can agree, right? We just need to learn to say no. And I know it's hard. Like I have a lot of my friends who are, you know, extremely educated, but they're what's a nice way to say it? I'll just say it. They're too nice for their own good. They're kind of like a pushover, right? I love them. They're sweet, but that's kind of why we're like super close. Like I found myself being best friends with very sweet people who easily get taken advantage of, or whose kindness usually gets taken advantage of. So what do I mean? Let me give you an example. So I had this one colleague a couple years ago, loved her to death, one of my closest friends, right? One of my closest friends. So she's super sweet. She worked her butt off. She was super type A. She was super detail oriented, super kind. She always wanted to do and make everyone happy around her. Now, that's her personality type. So, what would she do? She would, buy gifts for people during birthday. That's awesome. That's super sweet, right? She would go out of her way to help people on their assignments, right? Or help our colleagues on creating presentations and slides. She would share her own material, which is all great. But eventually, people start asking her for her to do tasks that I felt the other people could have done on their own or should have done on their own. People would ask my friend to host this event or do this and do that and do this and do that and do all of these little tasks that doesn't benefit my friend. Like it does, sure, she can put it on a quote unquote resume, but that's not enough. Her resume it shouldn't be filled with just a bunch of little things here and there. It's not helping her grow upwards. It's helping her grow, I guess, horizontally. You know what I'm talking about? She was just doing a bunch of little things here and there because she is so smart, she is so kind, she could and is more than capable to do everything. But for me, and I told her, I was like, you need to start saying no to these people because from my perspective as her friend, obviously I was biased. I was like, they're taking advantage of your kindness. And she was telling me, oh yeah, it makes me happy. And I was like, yeah, of course. But I knew, because she is my close friend, I told her, it's like, but I also know what you want to do. You have your own individual goals that make you happy, right? You wanted to write a book, but you don't have time now because you took on these other projects to help people. Yeah, they're great projects, but what about you? What about what you've always wanted? You've always wanted to publish that book. So I kept telling her that. And that's one thing I found myself having to repeat to a lot of my close friends. Because, again, as I noted, a lot of my close friends are very sweet, kind people who I think other people take advantage of their kindness. So, and I'm pretty straightforward, I'm pretty blunt. Um, you only get a taste of my other personality via this podcast. But say no. Are they great opportunities? Of course. Would you love to do it? Would it be fun? Yes. But also, you need to put in perspective how old you are. If you're 18, 19, 20, then of course, take opportunities, try things out. Like, I ain't even hating. Like, just do your thing. If you're just trying to figure yourself out, if you're trying a bunch of different things, then of course, say yes to new projects, figure things out. But once you know what you want, and once you, or at least you have an idea of what you want, you have to learn to say no to everything that doesn't help you move forward in that, because you have a goal now. You have a goal, and everything that doesn't help that goal, you need to learn to say no to. And it's not just projects, it's to people too. If people and your friends, if your close friends, your colleagues aren't helping you achieve your own individual goals, you have to say no to hang out with them. And that was the most difficult part for me. I love making friends. I love people. I really do. I love people. I love hanging out. I love going to the bar with them. I love relaxing, chatting. I love all that stuff. But it hurt me for the first couple of years when I started saying no to everyone, because I miss them. I love them. But I have my goals. I have my goals. And as much as I love you and care for you, I need to accomplish these goals. And the great thing is that if they were my real friends and they truly cared about me, they understood. They got it. They understood, like, hey, Brian, he's doing his thing. He has a bunch of stuff he wants to accomplish. When he's free, let's hang out. And of course, I'm like that. I will make time. I will always make time for things I care about. And the same thing should be applied to you. Always make time for what you care about. Now, what you care about should be your goals and obviously your own friends and things along those lines. Everything else that you don't care about that much, you need to practice saying no. Again, this advice is for specific individuals who have difficulty saying no, right? And I'm pretty sure a lot of my listeners probably have, well, I don't say probably, a lot of my listeners might have this problem, right? You don't say no enough. You say yes to everyone because you tell yourself that if you take this opportunity, it will help. But before you say yes, take a step back. Will it actually help you achieve your goals? But if you don't have a set goal in mind, then of course, say yes, experience something new, try out a new project because that might lead you to your goal. So it all depends on where you are currently in your life. Are you still exploring and trying to figure yourself out and figure out what you want? Then if that's the case, say yes, because it's kind of like trying new food, right? I'm a big fan. I always try new food if it's new, especially if it's new, because I want to know whether I like it or not. I don't want to go off the assumption that I don't like it, right? If it's something new, someone offers it to me, it's like, okay, hey, you should try this. Of course I'm gonna try it because I want to know whether I actually like it or not. And once I know, right? If I know for a fact that I don't like it, that means no, I can feel confident saying no the second time it's offered around. So practice saying no. But also, if you are still, again, just trying to figure yourself out and explore the world because you are a little younger, then of course, say yes. Then if that's the case, I would say yes. It depends on where you currently are in your life and what you, yeah, it depends on where you are in your life. So practice saying no, but also practice saying yes, right? Depends. All right, moving forward. The 10th secret is follow the 80-20 principle. Now, the 10th secret is to follow the powerful Pareto, my apologies if I mispronounced that, Pareto principle, which holds that 20% of effort accounts for 80% of the results. Aspiring billionaires apply this economic principle to identify the most efficient way to deploy their exceptional skills or to complete important tasks. So, I'm familiar with this particular principle. So, it's simply put, it's the 80-20 rule, right? Where usually 20% of our effort results in 80% of the rewards. So let me give you an example. So let's say, for example, you are writing a book, right? Now, taking the 80-20 principle, it's focusing on, let's say, your book cover, right? Which is like a small percentage of your overall book. Because you have a beautiful book cover, it can result on 80% of the actual results and 80% of people who actually buy your book. So it's kind of like creating a math percentage for your life, right? So you want to focus on the 20%. Now, number 11, utilize your strengths. Now, the 11th secret is to focus on your unique strengths and passions. A Harvard research team asked employees to analyze the chores they do based on three questions. Could they drop the task as entirely as unnecessary? Could they delegate it to a competent subordinate? And if they had to do the task, could they examine it to develop a more succinct solution? Now, each employee saved an average of 6 hours at their desks and 2 hours of meetings over a week. Outsourcing easier chores frees up your time and mental energy to concentrate on meaningful goals. 100% agree. And there are a lot of business books that focus on this notion is use your strengths. What you're great at, do it, right? If you're great at writing, write. If you're great at giving presentations, do presentations. Now, everything else that you're not that great at or that you're not confident in, outsource it. So I'll give you my own personal example. So because I published a couple books, there are a couple things that I can do quite easier than others. I can for sure write, right? Like it's okay. Well, I can write as a human being. I can write, right? I just type some ideas down. So I had an idea. So what I did for my book itself is I wrote, right? I wrote the actual book itself, the contents of the book. However, it takes a lot more to publish a book than just writing, right? There needs to be cover design. There needs to be editing, unless you want to edit yourself, but I didn't have time to edit, so I just hired an editor. So what I did is I just wrote the book, the manuscript, the transcript of the actual book, the contents. And everything else, the entire other process, I hired someone. I hired someone to edit, to proofread and edit my book because I didn't have time, right? I didn't have time and I didn't want to spend time on proofreading it because I want to work on other projects. I already wrote the contents, my ideas are down. Someone else check my work. Second, I hired someone to be a book cover designer. Okay, realistically, I could learn how to be a graphic designer, but how long would that take? And to be honest, I don't even know if I'm good at it. And realistically, I don't feel like I would be good at it. So what did I do? I hired a graphic designer. Therefore, they created a cover for me. They were able to help figure out the measurements and everything, right? And voila, my book was published. And most of it was just me. My main task was just writing it. Everything else that I don't feel confident in, I just asked someone else to do it. I hired someone else to do it. And the same thing can be applied to your own life, right? For example, a lot of people who are busy, they hire maids and they hire babysitters, they hire private tutors, they hire plumbers, they hire, whoever you hire. You hire someone who's an expert in the field to help you out, right? That's the beauty of, business. You do business with people, right? So use your strengths. What are you great and confident in doing? And whatever you're not confident in doing, can you hire someone else? Can you outsource the work? And if you can, do it. It'll save you a lot of time. So I totally 100% agree with this particular rule. Now, number 12. The 12th is batch your work. The 12th secret is to batch your work with recurring themes. Innovative entrepreneurs assign themes to their office days so their employees can concentrate on one specific type of work. Scheduled themes can include meetings, days, or group training seminars. Other themes include focus days to concentrate on certain crucial tasks and buffer days for catching up. This approach encourages collective concentration that spurs productivity. So, I naturally do this in my class as a professor. I help my students learn how to be goal oriented and focus their energy by doing set goals for the week, right? Because I usually have class twice a week, and usually my classes are broken up into either learning material and then applying it, or either learning certain material and then the following is applying material. For example, for example, crafting their speeches, you need to first learn the material, and then second, you apply said material. So one thing I do is I usually have weekly goals. Okay, week one, our goal is to figure out how to write a speech. Then within that week is again figuring out how to write a speech and then figuring out the requirements. And second week, okay, week two, let's work on constructing this speech. What needs to be put in, what is not, and then refining it, right? So I have kind of themes for each week, if obviously if allowed, right, depending on the time frame. But it helps people focus in. Okay, this week it's just learning, figure it out, figure it out. It's having set goals and set ideas and again, set themes to focus. So maybe my week, like for example, my weekends, it's like my weekends is all me. It's me time, right? If I have some grading, sure, I'll do it in the morning. But usually my weekends are it's me time. It's focusing on creating a new course, creating some content, creating something, a book, right? My weekends has a theme. While people go out, like it's kind of like people who work a 9 to 5 job, right? Prior to the pandemic, the theme for the weekend was okay, let's hang out time. The theme for the weekend's hangout time. For me, my theme for the weekend is like, okay, what do I want to work on? Or like I'll have a theme to work on. Sometimes it'll be constructing a public speaking course. Sometimes it'll be writing a book. It depends, right? But I definitely like grouping up days into themes. And it's like batching up your work. Now, number 13, this 13th secret, if you choose to do a task, is complete. Number 13 is complete low time consuming tasks right now. Now, the 13th secret, if you can do tasks in less than 5 minutes, do it immediately. Top achievers seek immediate return on their time. To expedite incoming work, handle email immediately. Delegating as much as possible, complete instantly anything you can handle in just a few minutes. Move time-consuming tasks to your calendar. Create weekly time blocks to deal with routine tasks. I agree. Now, it goes back to what I noted about the email thing. If you can get it done now, just get it done. Get it done, get it out of the ways to move on with your life. Just move on, right? It's always more exhausting to constantly be consumed by your work, right? Especially if a task can be completed in 5-6 minutes. I just tell myself, just get it done now. And usually, what helps me out to complete time consuming tasks right now is I just take the first step, and that could be opening a Google Doc, right? So let's say, for example, I need to answer an email. So the first step is, okay, you know what? Let me just open the app. Okay. Oh, wow, I'm on the app. Second step is like, oh my God, there's so many emails. Let me go through yeah, one of the emails. I'll click the email, I read it, and then I'll click, writing, and then I start off with my greeting, and eventually that email is sent, and then you're like, oh, can move on, right? Don't get me wrong, I'll be exhausted going through it, but just taking the first initial step of opening the email app, it helps me get into the feeling and the mode to just get it done. So one of my suggestions is just take that first step, right? If it's writing a report, first step could be just opening Microsoft Word. And then if you open Microsoft Word, just put in your name or put in the title, right? Put in title. Now, okay, now you have a document with a title. What should be the next thing? And then you're like, oh, let me just type in some information. The information might not be perfect, but it's there, right? And it's rewarding. It's rewarding. It's kind of like a snowball effect. So just take it step by step. For me, that really helps, right? It's just start, The very basic step. It's just opening the document or the file, and then just type in my name if I want to, type in a title, and then, okay, let me just write a sentence. Let me just copy and paste some information that's important, blah, blah, blah. And eventually you'll be like, oh, wow. It's not perfect, but oh my, I got a lot done, surprisingly, right? So that helps me a lot. And that also helps for big projects as well, right? Big projects that takes weeks and stuff like that. It's just like, just go through the motions, just start, take it slowly, but really think about how easy it can be, right? How easy the task really can be. Just take it step by step. Okay, number 14 is win your mornings. The 14th secret is to use early mornings to strengthen your mind, body, and spirit. Most entrepreneurs embrace a morning routine to re energize physically and mentally with plenty of water, healthy food, and exercise. So, I definitely do this. I've gotten into the routine of waking up, in my mornings. I don't really set an alarm anymore because I don't really need to. I have this routine where I wake up around like 8:30, 9, especially during the pandemic. Pre-pandemic, I would usually wake up at 6:30, but there's no need anymore. But one thing I do, I never look at my emails when I wake up. While I'm in my bed, I never look at my emails because I just don't like emails that much, right? One thing I always do is I just lie there, probably sleep a little bit. If I occasionally occasionally I might go on social media just if I'm bored, but if I do go on social media, it's probably literally for like 2 or 3 minutes. But eventually, once I'm up, I get up, I walk to my shower, I shower, feel refreshed because I love a good morning shower. It really wakes me up. After I'm done with my shower, put on some clothes, and then make my coffee. And once I make my coffee, I settle in. I turn on my laptop, chill, and then, okay, email time. And usually when I'm sitting in my office chair, that's when I pull out my emails. I go through the motions, right? I win my mornings, but realistically, I allow my mornings to be my mornings. I don't let someone else dictate my mornings. My mornings are important to me. It allows me, I go through my routine, right? I'm not at the beck and call of emails, right? That's just, I'm fortunate enough to be able to do that. But I'm fortunate enough to be able to do that because I prioritize that time. My mornings are for me and only me. I need to get into the zone. I need to get into my happy place, my happy mindset. And once I do, I'm ready to take on the whole day. Number 15, and the last step. Productivity is about focus, not time. The 15th and final secret is productivity is about energy and focus, not time. Hard workers schedule time for relaxation. Spending more time on work doesn't guarantee better results. The brain's capacity to process data efficiently falters during the day. Frequent breaks for water, snacks, and light exercise rejuvenate the mind and encourage greater productivity. Take enough downtime to build energy. Now, Olympic athletes depend on sleep to revitalize their bodies. Shannon Miller, 7-time Olympic medalist in gymnastics, enjoys brief power naps. Consistently healthy food, fun, rest, and recreation renew your physical stamina and mental focus. This fosters greatly productivity and enhances your life at play and at work. Successful people build the energy and focus to make each minute count. Love this role. So I totally can relate because I was under the assumption of I was one of those people, again, I was a workaholic, 12, 15-hour days, my brain was fried, I was just grinding and grinding and grinding for years. And it's so interesting because, I'll give an example. So during grad school, right, again, 12, 15-hour days, 7 days a week, I was taking full load of courses, teaching full-time load, more than full-time actually. I was working a lot. If you want to go into detail, you can send me email. We can have a chat or something, whatever you like. But I don't want to make this video way too long. So eventually, my brain was just fried, and I was just like a robot or a zombie, and just typing information that was just almost wasn't coherent at times. I mean, it made sense, but it wasn't my finest quality of work. And now that I've gotten older, it's funny because a couple of weeks ago, I looked back at some of my old work, right? My old previous work in grad school. And mind you, I was a straight A student in grad school. So I looked back at my old work and I was like, wow, this is really garbage. Yeah, like that was my initial reaction when I looked back at my previous work. I thought it was just awful. And that's not to say like my work great is great now, but the quality of my work definitely has improved significantly in my opinion. And the great thing is it's going to constantly improve because that's what I'm focusing on. But more time does not equate to better quality. However, that's not to say that more time, like you can still get work done with time. So one thing that I like doing that I learned in grad school, just to kind of add to this, is I like section out my time. I call it ABC time, right? So, and the great thing is any of you can apply this as well. So it all depends on your own. It depends on your personality. So A time is the time where you are the most creative, or where you can take on the most brain exhausting task, right? That's your A time. Now your B time is obviously you're a little drained, you're a little tired. Now that's where you take on your not as creative, not as mentally exhausting tasks. Now your C time is where you're just like your brain is kind of fried, but you can still get something done, right? You can still go through the motions. That doesn't take a lot of thought. Now, depends on which time of the day, right? So, for example, let's say if you're a morning person and you love getting things done in the morning, and that's what I've been doing, right? That's the routine I've been getting. So from 8 till I guess 12, 8 to 12 is my A time. That's where my brain is refreshed. It's ready to just destroy work and just do great quality work from 8 to 12. Now, after 12 and when I get a little bit of lunch, I am exhausted. Like I want to take a nap, right? I'm tired, I'm comfortable, my brain is fried. So, if I feel like it, I might take a nap. But let's say I don't take a nap, right? So that means from 12 till maybe 5 is my C time. That's where I do work that doesn't take that much thought because my brain is fried, right? So that means I would just be typing certain text or copy and pasting or doing some research, right? Doing some basic stuff, right? I don't really read nothing that takes a lot of thought or mental energy. That's my C time, right? Or I do some chores, or a little bit of workout, something simple that doesn't fry my brain. Now, when it comes to the evening, usually around 6 to 9 or 7 to 9, like not too long. That's my B time. For some reason, I kind of get like a second wind, right? My brain gets a second wind. I was like, oh my god, I'm ready to kind of go again. Like it's not. I'm still a little tired. It's not my A time, but B time, I'm pretty good. I feel refreshed. My brain feels decent enough to do some thought. That's where I might take on like a little bit more creative tasks. I might start working on a book, might start typing or something like that. So that's to add to this particular rule. Productivity is about focus, not time, and which is true, right? But one thing I wanted to add was that my ABC time. A time is your most productive time where you can think and your mind is clear, you're ready to take on tasks. And again, that everyone's ABC time differs. And that's your A time, right? Where you're most productive. Your B time is you're not as productive as your A time, but you can still get a good amount of work done. That takes a lot of mental energy. And your C time is where you're just kind of like you're just burnt, like your brain is fried, but you still need to get some stuff done, like chores, working out, or some little tasks here and there. That's your C time. So depend on your personality, right? Some people are night owls. You love at nighttime from 10 till 3. That might be your A time, and your B time and your C time might be in the morning because you don't like mornings and you're very groggy. So that's how I like sectioning out my day as well as my tasks. It's based off the ABC time. From 8 to 12, that's where I get my most thought provoking work done. The work that just takes a lot on my brain to get done. And then and then from 12 to 6 is my C time. That's where I'm pretty tired. I'm pretty spent. That's where I just do a little typing here and there, do a little basic research, right? Nothing that takes a lot of like strain on my brain. And then B time is from like 7 till 9, 7 till midnight sometimes. Or excuse me, my B time's from like 7 till 9 or 10 or 11. That's where I kind of get a second wind, and that's where I work on a little bit more creative tasks, right? Not as creative as my A time. but still gets the job done. Okay, this is a long podcast slash video. I don't know if y'all like it. I hope you do. If you do, apparently y'all can give me ratings on my podcast. I mean, I don't really know how to check that stuff. I'm not gonna lie. Uh, yeah, but I hope you like it. If you like it, shoot me an email. My email is again prof.brianhy@gmail.com. If you have any questions or have any, yeah, if you have any questions, you just want to chat real quick, shoot me an email. Okay, I don't really have any social media accounts. Instagram, I have one. I don't really use it, but hopefully you liked it. All right, this was a fun little podcast. Again, take these rules, apply any that you can. And one thing I want to just stress is, or at least say, is don't feel the pressure to apply all 15 right now in your life. It's very overwhelming. I know we're all going through already a lot during this pandemic, right? So take what you can and slowly start incorporating a little bit better habits in your life, right? It takes time, right? Your life isn't going to change overnight. It's not like a lottery, right? The lottery is not realistic. That's why a lot of people who win the lottery kind of go broke because they haven't built good habits over time. So take the rules, apply the ones that you can now, and eventually apply the other ones. And then just work your way up from there. All right, it's been super fun, y'all. Take care.